Jimin accuses Jungkook in front of BTS. What he reveals shocks everyone. The truth, the betrayal, the breakdown. Nothing will ever be the same again. You think you're always the victim, don't you, Jungkook? Maybe it's time someone said this out loud. Jimin's voice cut through the silence like a blade. The room froze. No one dared to breathe. Not even Namjoon, who usually stepped in before things went too far. Taehyung shifted slightly but said nothing. Hoseok stared at the floor. Jin didn't blink. Jungkook's mouth opened, then closed. You want to talk about betrayal? Jimin continued. Let's talk about what you did 3 nights ago. Jungkook's tone was low. Don't do this here. No, Jimin snapped. Exactly here, because everyone needs to hear this. The air between them crackled with unspoken rage. Yoongi leaned forward, hands on his knees, but he too remained silent. There was a code in BTS. Disagreements happened behind closed doors. But Jimin had just shattered that rule, and now the fallout was unavoidable. 3 nights ago, you went behind our backs, Jimin said, his words slicing through every nerve. You talked to the producer without letting us know. You tried to rewrite the choreography we all agreed on. You didn't think we'd find out? It wasn't like that, Jungkook murmured. Oh, really? Jimin laughed bitterly. Then what was it like? Tell us. Justify it to everyone here. Jungkook's gaze flicked across the room. No one met his eyes. I didn't think it would matter, Jungkook finally said. I thought if the ending hit harder, the fans would feel it more. So now you decide what matters, Jimin barked. You think your vision matters more than the rest of us? I was trying to help the performance. No, you were trying to make yourself look better. Admit it. Jimin stepped closer. This isn't about BTS for you anymore, is it? It's about Jungkook. A beat passed. Then another. You have no idea what I've sacrificed, Jungkook said, his voice trembling. You have no idea what it's like waking up every day wondering if I've done enough to keep this group alive. And you think you carry this group alone? Jimin's tone turned icy. You think you're the only one losing sleep? The only one drowning in guilt every time one of us breaks down? Silence fell again, but it wasn't empty. It was heavy, charged with the weight of every word that had been left unspoken for too long. Taehyung finally spoke. Jimin, maybe this isn't... No, Taehyung, Jimin cut in, not even looking at him. He needs to hear this. Jungkook clenched his fists. I never asked for this, and yet you keep taking everything as if it's yours, Jimin said, his voice quieter now, but each word landed harder than before. Spotlight, credit, the fans' blind love. You drink it in, and then act like you're humble. Jin stood up slowly. We need to stop. But Jimin had already gone too far. You broke this group, Jungkook, slowly, silently, while smiling. The words hung there like ash in the air. I thought we were brothers, Jungkook whispered, eyes locked on Jimin. I thought we all had each other's backs. Brothers don't lie, Jimin replied coldly. Brothers don't manipulate. Brothers don't pretend they're saving the group when they're really just saving themselves. Jungkook turned to Namjoon. Is this how everyone feels? Namjoon didn't answer. His silence was an answer of its own. You've been spiraling, Yoongi said at last. You've been distant, obsessed with controlling everything. It's not just about this one thing, Jungkook. It's been coming for a while. Then why didn't anyone say anything before? Jungkook's voice cracked, raw now. Why didn't anyone stop me? Because we hoped you'd find your way back, Jimin answered, softer, but no less fierce. But you didn't. Hoseok finally looked up. We still want to believe in you, Jungkook, but you need to be honest, with us, with yourself. Jungkook's defenses crumbled. I'm scared, he said, voice barely audible. Every day, I'm scared this will all fall apart. That I'll fail all of you. That I'll fail them. They don't want perfection, Taehyung said gently. They want the truth, the heart, the struggle. And we needed you to struggle with us, Jimin added. Not in silence, not in secret. We needed our maknae, not some self-appointed savior. Jungkook looked around the room again. This time, he saw what he had missed for months. The exhaustion in their silence, the ache of trust slowly corroded. I'm sorry, he whispered. I thought I was helping. I thought I could carry it all. No one asked you to, Namjoon said. We asked you to stand with us. That's what BTS is. Silence again. But something had shifted. Not resolution. Not yet. But the shattering had begun. And from the pieces, something else might eventually form. But for now, the wounds were fresh. The truths were brutal. The silence afterward was not peace. It was the sound of a world that would never be quite the same again. You don't get to walk away this time, Jungkook. Not after what you just heard. Jimin's words followed Jungkook as he turned toward the door, hands trembling, his back to the group, to the judgment that felt like knives pressing into skin he couldn't shed. He paused, one hand on the doorknob, unsure if staying would kill him faster than leaving. Let him go, Yoongi said, his voice low, tired. He needs space. No, Jimin snapped. He's had too much space. That's the problem. Jungkook turned around slowly, his eyes burning with something deeper than anger. You think I wanted this space? You think I liked feeling like the outsider in my own family? No one made you an outsider, Jimin shot back. You chose that. You don't know what I've been going through, because you never told us. Jimin's voice rose. You disappeared into your own head, your own world, and now you act surprised we don't trust you anymore? Namjoon exhaled sharply. This isn't helping anyone. But the floodgates had already burst. The rage had been caged for too long, and now that it was free, it refused to return quietly. You all think I'm selfish, Jungkook said, his voice growing louder. That I'm stealing the spotlight. That I want to lead everything. But maybe I stepped up because no one else was. Maybe I was tired of waiting for someone to say, we're losing control. So I said it. Don't twist this into some noble sacrifice, Taehyung said quietly. And it was his quiet that cut the deepest. You never gave us the chance to help. You took it all, and then blamed us when you collapsed. You think I didn't beg for help inside my own mind every day? Jungkook's chest heaved. You think I didn't scream for someone to notice I was barely holding it together? Jin finally stood again. So why didn't you say something out loud? Because I'm not supposed to break, Jungkook shouted. I'm the youngest, the golden one, the one who's always okay. What happens when I fall apart? Who picks me up? For a second, no one moved, no one breathed. Jimin stared at him. We would've. If you'd let us. But you didn't, Yoongi added quietly. You decided the silence was safer. Because I knew if I told you the truth, you'd all look at me differently, Jungkook said bitterly. And I was right. Look at you now. We're looking at someone we don't recognize anymore, Jimin said. Someone who would rather manipulate the narrative than trust his brothers. You call it manipulation, Jungkook said, his voice shaking. I call it survival. Taehyung stood slowly, eyes never leaving Jungkook. What are you surviving from? Jungkook's lips parted, but no words came. He stared at Taehyung for a long moment, then turned away again, walking back into the center of the room like a man stepping into fire. You really want the truth? He said. Fine. You remember the interview we did last month? The one where the host asked me about our future? Namjoon nodded. Yeah. You said we'd last forever. Jungkook laughed once, darkly. I lied. The temperature in the room dropped instantly. I've been meeting with Hybe, Jungkook continued, ignoring the gasps. Alone, without telling you. And not just about choreography, about solo work, about alternative directions. Alternative? Hoseok echoed. You mean I considered leaving, Jungkook said flatly. Not just temporarily, permanently. Jimin stepped back like he'd been slapped. You what? I thought maybe, if I stepped away, I'd find peace again. I thought maybe I'd let you all move on without the dead weight. No, Taehyung said sharply. Don't you dare play victim again. Jungkook turned to him. You think this was easy for me? No, Jimin said, voice low and shaking. I think you planned this. I think you wanted us to push you out so you could blame us instead of owning the choice. I'm not trying to be the villain, Jungkook said. I'm just tired of pretending I'm okay being part of something that stopped feeling like family a long time ago. That hit deeper than any previous blow. You lied, Jimin whispered. You lied to all of us. While we were fighting to stay together, you were already halfway out the door. I came back every time, Jungkook said. Isn't that worth something? It's not loyalty, if you're just buying time until your escape, Yoongi said. It's cowardice. Jin's face was pale now. When were you planning to tell us? I wasn't, Jungkook admitted. Not unless I had to. You're lying, Jimin said again. There's more. I feel it. There's nothing else, Jungkook said, but his voice faltered. Namjoon stood, walked forward. Jungkook, tell us the rest. Now. Jungkook looked like he might break, truly break, in that moment. Then he spoke. Hybe offered me a deal. My own team, global push, full creative control, no more compromises. And you said yes? Taehyung asked. I haven't yet, Jungkook said, but I didn't say no either. Jesus, Yoongi muttered. Jimin looked at him with a stare that could shatter concrete. Why are you even here? Jungkook met his eyes. Because I wanted someone to stop me. Well, congratulations, Jimin said. We're stopping you now. You think it's that simple? Jungkook barked. That I can just turn off everything I've been thinking, feeling, hiding? You think yelling at me fixes it? No, Jimin said. But silence sure as hell broke it. They stood there, chaos laid bare between them. No script, no press release, just raw truths and shattered illusions. Do you even love us anymore? Hoseok asked quietly. Jungkook didn't answer. And that silence was louder than any scream. Namjoon turned to the rest. We can't force him to stay. I don't want to force anything, Jin said. But we deserve honesty. I love you, Jungkook finally whispered. But I don't know if I love this anymore. The pressure, the roles we're locked into, the image we have to uphold. You're not the only one who suffers, Jimin said. You think I haven't wanted to quit 1,000 times? But I stayed, because this matters. And maybe I'm not as strong as you, Jungkook said. Maybe I'm selfish. But I'm tired of pretending I'm okay with everything just to keep the world happy. Then don't pretend, Namjoon said. But don't betray us in the process. Jungkook walked to the window, staring at something none of them could see. I wish I could go back to when it was just us in the dorm, before all of this. You can't go back, Yoongi said. None of us can, but we can still fix what's left, Hoseok said. If we want to, Taehyung added. If he wants to, Jungkook turned to them, broken open and bare. I don't know what I want anymore. Jimin looked at him long and hard. Then figure it out, before you lose us for good. The words hung in the air as Jungkook finally sat down for the first time that night. No one moved. No one spoke. They all knew this wasn't the end. But it wasn't a beginning either. It was the reckoning. The space between love and fracture. Between family and strangers. And what came next would either heal them or destroy everything they'd built. And somewhere, buried beneath the pain, was the question none of them dared ask out loud. Had Jungkook already made his choice? You said you didn't know what you wanted anymore. But that was a lie too, wasn't it? Jimin's voice was razor sharp in the stillness that followed the implosion of the last meeting. His words didn't tremble. They struck. He was already standing when Jungkook walked in again the next evening. Unannounced, uninvited, unready for the new war waiting behind those familiar walls. Jungkook didn't respond. Not right away. He closed the door behind him slowly, as if unsure whether it would be the last time. The room was less crowded than before. Only Namjoon, Jimin, and Taehyung were present. The others were missing, either by choice or design. I'm not here to defend myself, Jungkook said finally. I'm here because I don't want to disappear without explaining what none of you saw. We saw more than you think, Taehyung muttered without looking up. No, Jungkook said, louder now. You saw what I let you see. Namjoon crossed his arms. You manipulated all of us. I protected all of you, Jungkook corrected, from the fallout of everything I was feeling. The truth is, I started resenting you. You're not helping your case, Jimin said, his tone colder than before. I'm not here to make you like me again, Jungkook replied. I'm here to admit something. I resented all of you because you looked free. You laughed, you joked, you moved forward. Meanwhile, I was suffocating inside my own skin, and no one noticed. Taehyung finally looked up, his voice quiet but cutting. You want us to feel guilty for being okay? I want you to understand I wasn't, Jungkook said. For a long time, I looked fine. I performed fine. I said all the right things in all the right interviews. but it was all hollow. I hated waking up. I hated sleeping even more. Why didn't you say any of this when it mattered? Namjoon asked. Because the moment I admit weakness, everything collapses, Jungkook said. The fans, the company, the image, and maybe even this group. You don't get to weaponize mental health as your excuse, Jimin snapped. We've all been through hell. You chose to carry it like a martyr and hide behind the curtain of being golden. That's not strength. That's arrogance. Jungkook's jaw clenched. And maybe your constant moral superiority is why no one talks to you until they're already falling apart. Jimin froze. Maybe people avoid you when they're hurting, Jungkook continued. Because they know you'll throw it back in their face once they slip. Namjoon stepped between them. Stop it. Both of you. No, Jimin said, brushing past him. He wants the truth? Then fine. The truth is, I stopped trusting him months ago. The fake apologies, the hollow commitments, the we'll talk later, that never happened. He disappeared while pretending he was here. Because I didn't think any of you would care if I was gone, Jungkook said. I felt like I was already gone. Just a shadow, performing for cameras, a brand, a commodity. You think we weren't? Taehyung said suddenly, his voice sharp and rising. You think I didn't lie awake wondering what I even am without this group? Without this name? I didn't say you didn't suffer, Jungkook said, softer now. I said I felt alone in mine. Because you chose silence? Jimin's voice cracked. And then, instead of asking for help, you started planning your exit. Namjoon's expression darkened. You still haven't told us the whole story, have you? Jungkook looked down. No. Taehyung took a step forward. Then say it. All of it. Jungkook hesitated. Then, slowly, deliberately, he pulled a small folded paper from his jacket pocket and laid it on the table. That's the draft agreement Hybe sent me. I signed it. You what? Jimin's voice dropped. I signed it, Jungkook said. 2 weeks ago. Before the argument. Before the confrontation. I'd already decided. The room erupted. Namjoon slammed the table with his palm. Taehyung cursed under his breath and turned away, fists clenched. Jimin looked like he was about to throw something. You stood in front of us after signing that paper and pretended to be one of us? Jimin's voice trembled not with fear but fury. You lied with every breath. I didn't want to say goodbye, Jungkook said. You already did, Namjoon said, eyes burning. You said goodbye the moment you chose yourself over us. No, Jungkook said. I said goodbye the moment I realized no one truly saw me anymore. Taehyung turned back, shaking. You could have torn that contract. You could have fought for us. I didn't think there was anything left to fight for, Jungkook whispered. Then why are you here now? Jimin asked. Jungkook looked up. Because I realized I'm not afraid of being alone anymore. I'm afraid of what I became when I forgot how to be with all of you. Namjoon sat down slowly, trying to gather himself. What does that mean? I want out, Jungkook said. Not from BTS, from the person I became trying to protect it. You can't just walk back in and expect forgiveness, Taehyung said. It doesn't work that way. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Jungkook said. I'm asking for a second chance. Not as Jungkook the idol, but as Jungkook the person. Jimin looked at him for a long time. You're asking for a miracle. Jungkook's voice broke. Then I guess I'm praying to the only people I ever believed in. Taehyung turned away again. You should have come sooner. Namjoon picked up the paper from the table, staring at the signature. This changes everything. It doesn't have to, Jungkook said. It already has, Jimin replied. A door opened. Jin stepped in, followed by Yoongi and Hoseok. Someone must have called them. What's going on? Jin asked. Namjoon handed him the paper. He signed a solo deal, behind our backs. Jin read it. His hands didn't shake, but his eyes said everything. Yoongi didn't even need to read it. He already knew. Hoseok sat down, stunned. I came here to end something, Jungkook said. But maybe I'm supposed to rebuild something instead. You came here to confess, Jimin said. Now you have to live with what that means. I will, Jungkook said. Whatever comes next. I just needed to finally be honest. Yoongi finally spoke. Honesty doesn't erase betrayal. No, Jungkook agreed. But it's the only place I can start. No one knew what would come next. No one trusted enough to hope. But in that silence, something shifted. Not healing, not reconciliation, but the first painful, necessary breath of truth. And sometimes, truth is the only foundation strong enough to carry the weight of everything broken. Do you realize what you've done? Yoongi's voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. His words carried the weight of something irreparable, the kind of fracture that no amount of bandages or apologies could ever truly fix. Jungkook didn't respond. He stood in the middle of the room, no longer the golden maknae, no longer shielded by years of shared history. He was exposed now, naked in his guilt, his betrayal no longer a secret but a scar etched into every face around him. Namjoon dropped the contract onto the floor like it was poison. You brought this here. You brought your signature to the table and thought, what? That we'd thank you for admitting it? I didn't come here for thanks, Jungkook said, his voice quieter than a whisper. I came here because I didn't want to leave without showing you that I was still human. Human? Jimin's voice cracked. You lost the right to call yourself one of us the moment you signed that paper. You weren't thinking about family. You were thinking about escape. I was drowning, Jungkook said. I chose survival. You chose betrayal, Taehyung said sharply. We've all been drowning, Jungkook. We just didn't use it as an excuse to burn the lifeboat. Stop, Hoseok interrupted suddenly. Just stop. Everyone turned toward him. Hoseok rarely raised his voice, but now his silence cracked. You think this is helping? You think all this screaming and accusing is going to fix what's broken? He lied to us, Jimin said. And we broke him long before he did, Hoseok said. You want to blame someone? Blame all of us. Blame the system. Blame the way we put him on a pedestal and expected him to keep smiling when everything inside him was crumbling. Don't romanticize his actions, Namjoon said stern. He had a choice. So did we, Hoseok countered. And we chose to ignore the signs. We saw him pulling away. We saw the fatigue, the quiet, the distance. And we told ourselves it was just a phase. You think sympathy will fix what he's done? Jimin shouted. I don't want sympathy, Jungkook said, louder now. I want accountability. That includes me. I made choices. I hid things. I broke trust. But I also stayed in a prison none of you even noticed I was trapped in. Don't make this about you being a victim, Yoongi said coldly. You're not the only one who suffered. I'm not saying I suffered more, Jungkook replied. I'm saying I suffered alone. Because you pushed us away, Taehyung barked. You looked us in the eyes and told us you were fine when you weren't. You built walls and painted them with your smile. And you all were so happy to believe it, Jungkook said. Because it was easier than dealing with what was real. There was silence. An awful, aching kind of silence. Jin finally stepped forward. This doesn't end here. Jungkook turned to him. I never expected it to. No, Jin said, his voice flat. It ends with something else. There was something in his tone that made Namjoon pause. What are you saying? Jin looked around the room, then down at the contract on the floor. I spoke to Hybe yesterday. What? Yoongi asked. Jin looked straight at Jungkook. I told them I was stepping away too. The room erupted again. But this time it wasn't rage. It was confusion, disbelief, betrayal of another kind. You what? Namjoon said, stunned. Since when? Since the moment I realized I've been living for everyone except myself, Jin said. I've been the eldest, the bridge, the glue, but I haven't been me in years. You can't just leave, Taehyung said, eyes wide. Not now. I'm not abandoning BTS, Jin said, but I need to figure out who I am without BTS, without the expectations, without carrying everyone else's pain while hiding mine. This isn't the time, Namjoon said. There will never be a right time, Jin replied. But Jungkook's not the only one breaking. He was just the first one honest enough to admit it. Jungkook looked at him stunned. You're really leaving? I don't know for how long, Jin said, but I know I can't keep pretending I'm okay. Jimin shook his head. So this is it? We just unravel one by one? No, Namjoon said firmly. We fight, we talk, we bleed, but we don't disintegrate. You don't get it, Jungkook said. This was always going to happen. Not because we're weak, but because we've been holding too much for too long. We're family, Jimin said. Then why do we feel like strangers? Jungkook replied. No one had an answer. Taehyung sat down slowly, his hands shaking. What happens now? There was silence again. A different kind this time. Not explosive, not sharp, just exhausted. I want to try, Jungkook said, eyes heavy. If there's a path back, I want to find it. But I can't do it alone. Not again. You'll have to earn everything back, Yoongi said. Trust, respect our belief in you. I know, Jungkook said. Jin exhaled. And we have to admit we failed too. Not as artists, as brothers. Do you still love this group? Hozak asked suddenly. Everyone turned to Jungkook. I never stopped, he whispered. But I stopped loving who I was becoming in it. Then help us fix that, Namjoon said. Help us reshape what this is, together. No more masks, no more contracts in secret, no more pretending. Jimin looked at Jungkook. One more lie, and you're out. Permanently. I understand, Jungkook said. You better, Jimin replied, but his voice wasn't as sharp this time. Taehyung stood. Let's go somewhere. Where? Jungkook asked. Anywhere, Taehyung said. Someplace that isn't here. Someplace we can start again. They all looked at each other. No one moved for a moment. Then, slowly, painfully, together they did. There were no promises, no apologies that could undo what was done. But for the first time in a long time, they walked out of that room not as 7 perfect members, but as 7 imperfect, wounded, broken brothers trying, in their own ways, to put the pieces back together. The rain had just stopped falling when the silence in the practice room cracked like glass under pressure. Jungkook's hand trembled, his fingers tightening around his phone as the last message on the screen stared back at him like an open wound refusing to heal. The echo of Taehyung's laughter outside the studio earlier that evening still rang in his ears. Carefree, unaware, or maybe pretending not to know the chaos he had just ignited. Jungkook didn't blink. His jaw clenched. The fluorescent light above buzzed softly, mocking him with its quietness. He read the message again. This wasn't just any message. It was the one Taehyung sent not to him, but to someone else, someone unexpected. It was never about the song, the message said. It was always about keeping the spotlight away from him. He can't see it yet, but he will. Sooner or later, Jungkook will understand why I did what I did. His knees felt weak. This wasn't just about a disagreement over choreography or some creative tension during their last rehearsal. No, this ran deeper. Betrayal. A deliberate move. A choice made behind his back. And it wasn't just professional, it was personal. The door opened. Taehyung stepped in, brushing rain from his shoulders, his expression unreadable. His eyes scanned the room and froze when they met Jungkook's. Something in that glance told him everything. He knew. Taehyung's smile faltered. You saw it? Jungkook didn't answer. The silence between them thickened like smoke in a burning house. The tension could have broken bone. Say something, Taehyung said quietly, stepping forward. Please. Jungkook's voice came out hoarse. Why him? Why Jimin? Why would you say that to him of all people? Taehyung swallowed, his throat visibly tightening. It's not what you think. No? Jungkook barked, cutting him off. Then tell me what it is exactly. Because right now it sounds like you've been plotting behind my back with someone I used to trust. I didn't plot anything. Taehyung snapped back, but there was a crack in his voice, and Jungkook heard it. You don't understand how hard this has been for me too. For you? Jungkook stepped closer, the veins on his neck taut with anger. You think this is about you now? I was trying to protect you, Taehyung said, and the desperation in his voice broke something fragile in the room. Jimin was going to leak something. I had to say something to keep him quiet. You had to lie? Jungkook's eyes were wet now, but not from sorrow. From fury. You had to throw me under the bus so you could be the savior? Taehyung shook his head, pacing, pulling at his hair. You don't get it, Jungkook. This world, it's not black and white. If I hadn't said those things, if I didn't convince him that you weren't a threat, he would have dropped everything. The photos, the voice notes, the night you went to Hybe's rooftop with him. Jungkook's heart stopped. What? Taehyung looked up, face pale. You didn't know? What photos? Jungkook's voice dropped to a whisper now, like the air had been stolen from his lungs. Taehyung took a deep breath. He recorded everything. That night, the fight, the way you screamed about quitting, your confession about Namjoon. He kept it. All of it. Said it was leverage. For if he ever got pushed out. Jungkook's knees finally gave way, and he collapsed into the nearest chair, eyes wide. I told him that in confidence. I know, Taehyung whispered. And that's why I did what I did. I needed him to trust me, to turn his focus off of you. You used me, Jungkook spat. And then you justified it with some twisted idea of protection? It wasn't twisted, Taehyung said, stepping forward. It was necessary. Suddenly, the door slammed open. Namjoon walked in. His face, usually composed and unreadable, was carved with thunder. What the hell is going on here? Jungkook looked up slowly. Ask him, he said, pointing at Taehyung. Ask him who he's been texting behind our backs. Ask him why he thought protecting us meant betraying us. Namjoon glanced between the two, his jaw tight. I already know. That's why I'm here. Taehyung's face twisted in disbelief. You knew. Namjoon nodded. Hybe knew. Jimin tried to sell those recordings to Dispatch. We intercepted the leak last week. Silence. It was Jungkook who broke it. Why didn't you tell me? Namjoon hesitated. Because the truth would have shattered everything. And we weren't sure who to trust. Taehyung recoiled as if struck. You thought I was involved? I thought someone was, Namjoon replied, his voice level, but ice cold. And you were the one with the most to lose if Jungkook's recordings were leaked. But now it makes sense. You were trading secrets to protect him. Jungkook's fists clenched. All of you treated me like a child, like I couldn't handle the truth. Because you couldn't, Namjoon snapped. That night you said you wanted to leave the group, that you didn't care if Army found out. Do you know what kind of storm you almost brought on us? Taehyung suddenly stepped forward. And I stopped it. I stopped it. You played God, Jungkook muttered. And you didn't even have the courage to tell me. Silence fell again, but it was heavier now, more final, like a funeral march. Then, another voice came from the hallway. I think we all need to talk, Jimin said as he stepped into the room. Because you're all wrong. They turned. Jimin looked exhausted, hollow-eyed, but calm. I didn't plan to leak anything, he said, throwing a flash drive onto the table. But I knew someone else would, so I held it. Taehyung came to me, begged me to bury it, said he'd do anything, said you didn't deserve what was coming. Jungkook was frozen. I didn't lie, Jimin continued, but I didn't tell the full truth either, because maybe a part of me wanted to see what would happen if it did leak. Taehyung's voice broke. Why? Because I was angry, Jimin admitted. Because for months, I felt like a ghost around you two. Like I didn't matter. Like this group wasn't ours anymore. It was always Taehyung this, Taehyung that. Even the fans saw it. I faded. Jungkook stood slowly. So this was revenge? No, Jimin said quietly. It was a test. And you all failed. The room spun. Jungkook stared at the three men before him. Brothers, rivals, traitors, and protectors. He didn't know who to trust anymore. But he knew one thing. This wasn't over. Not even close. The silence that had once felt like a comforting cocoon between Jungkook and Taehyung had now mutated into a suffocating void. It was the kind of silence that screamed truths no one was ready to say, screamed fears no one dared confront. And as they stood face to face in that hidden hallway backstage, mere moments after the video leak had gone viral, it was no longer about who betrayed who. It was about who had broken first. You're going to stand there? Taehyung spat, his voice trembling but sharp. And act like you didn't know this was coming? Jungkook blinked slowly, and for a moment, he looked as if someone had struck him in the chest. His voice came out lower than a whisper, but every syllable carried weight. You think I leaked it? Taehyung didn't blink. Didn't you? FKU Kim Taehyung. Jungkook's voice cracked. Is that really what you think of me now? Taehyung stepped forward. The hallway lights flickered above them, casting their shadows on the wall like two wounded soldiers battling ghosts only they could see. I think I don't know who you are anymore, Taehyung replied. The Jungkook I knew would never stand still while I burn. Jungkook laughed hollow, dark, bitter. You think you're the only one burning? I'm the only one with my name trending beside the word traitor right now. Jungkook's nostrils flared. He moved so quickly, so unexpectedly, that for a moment Taehyung flinched, but instead of violence, Jungkook shoved his phone into Taehyung's hand. "Read it." Taehyung hesitated, but his curiosity overpowered his pride. On the screen was a message thread with Bang PD. "Bang PD, you're not going to defend him publicly? We need to save your name, Jungkook. His is already gone. Jungkook, you're disgusting. Bang PD." Then I guess we're done here. Beneath it were photos, paparazzi-style images of Taehyung with a woman. Blurry at first glance, but taken from the perfect angle to suggest something romantic, or worse, a scandal. Attached to the images were timestamps, dates that didn't match, and one message, unspoken but clear, fabricated. "I didn't know," Jungkook said softer this time. "I didn't know they were setting you up. I thought—" "You thought what?" Taehyung's voice cracked. "That I was actually cheating on someone? That I was destroying everything we built because I was careless? I didn't want to believe it." Jungkook swallowed, his throat visibly tightening. "But I couldn't reach you. You ghosted me, Tae." "You didn't fight for me." Jungkook's hands trembled. "I did. I've been fighting every damn day behind closed doors while you pushed me away. You think I didn't notice the change? The way your smile stopped reaching your eyes? The way you flinched when my name came up? You've been gone long before this leak." And finally, the mask slipped. Taehyung's eyes welled up, but he didn't cry. Not yet. "I was trying to protect you," he said. "They told me if I dragged you into it, you'd lose your solo deal. That they'd leak your military files. I signed an NDA, Jungkook. I signed it in blood. They made you choose between them and me," Jungkook whispered. "And you chose them." "No," Taehyung said. "I chose you. That's why I walked away." The hallway went silent again. This time not in hostility, but grief. It was as though something sacred had just died between them. And then, from somewhere down the corridor, a familiar voice called out, "Jungkook? Taehyung?" "Jimin." He approached cautiously, like a man entering a war zone. His eyes flicked from one face to the other, quickly absorbing the emotional wreckage in front of him. "They found out," he said breathlessly. "Hybe knows you confronted Bang PD. They're locking accounts, emails, phones. They're trying to bury this." Taehyung blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Jimin said, "they're preparing for war, and they're not planning to lose." Behind Jimin, a fourth figure emerged from the darkness. Namjoon. Calm, controlled, deadly. "They made a mistake," RM said, looking directly at Taehyung. "They thought silencing one of us would shut us all up." Jungkook and Taehyung exchanged a glance. Namjoon's voice dropped. "They forgot who the hell we are." What followed over the next 3 hours would change everything. Back in a private studio, soundproofed and off the radar, the four of them convened. And for the first time in years, the gloves came off. "They've been watching all of us," Jimin said, scrolling through a folder of documents Namjoon had somehow obtained. "Not just you and Tae. Every member. Bank accounts. Call logs. Surveillance. There are transcripts here of your therapy sessions, Jungkook." Jungkook's fists clenched. "That's illegal." "That's Hybe," Namjoon said simply. "And we signed our lives away." "But why now?" Taehyung asked. "Why push this now after everything?" Namjoon tapped the folder. "Because someone inside leaked the fact that Taehyung was planning to go public." The room froze. Jungkook turned slowly to Taehyung. "You were going to go public?" "I was tired," Taehyung admitted. "Tired of being told to smile while they erased who I was. I thought maybe if I told the truth, you'd save someone else from becoming a ghost." Namjoon finished for him. Jimin looked down. "So, what now? We expose them? Burn it all down?" Taehyung looked over at Jungkook. "Would you still stand beside me if I did?" Jungkook didn't hesitate. "Always." But as the word fell from his lips, his phone vibrated. An unknown number. A video file. He clicked it open, and the air in the room turned cold. It was footage, not of Taehyung, not of Jimin, but of Jungkook. A conversation, secretly recorded. One he didn't remember having. In it, he was sitting across from a woman, his voice clear. "If this goes public, we lose everything. I can't protect him anymore. Everyone stared. Jungkook's hand trembled. I never said that, he whispered. That's not real. Namjoon's jaw tightened. It's deep-faked. But it'll be enough, Jimin said, pale, for Hybe to justify cutting you loose. Both of you. Taehyung reached out, grabbed Jungkook's hand, then let them. Jungkook met his eyes, and the fire returned. No, he said. Let's show them what happens when you try to silence truth. And so, it began. The next 48 hours were chaos. Live streams, private interviews, hidden files leaked to journalists. Names were named, contracts uploaded, audio clips released. Taehyung and Jungkook stood side by side on a rooftop live stream. Unfiltered, unedited. Their hands brushed. Not hidden anymore. We're done hiding, Jungkook said. Done pretending. Done being what they tell us to be, Taehyung added. They tried to erase us, but the truth doesn't die. Army exploded. Some fans were in disbelief. Others were in tears. Others were enraged, not at the idols, but at the machine behind them. But the most unexpected twist was still to come. Hybe responded, with lawsuits, with press conferences, with carefully curated narratives painting the duo as mentally unstable, manipulated, emotional. They even brought in witnesses, fabricated stories, photoshopped images, more deepfakes. It was a storm, and no one, not even the strongest fans, knew who would survive it. But in the eye of that storm stood Taehyung and Jungkook, battle-scarred, bruised, unafraid. Because for the first time in years, they weren't fighting each other. They were fighting together. The sun had barely risen over Seoul when the silence shattered. A piercing buzz broke the quiet of Jungkook's apartment as his phone vibrated relentlessly on the edge of the kitchen counter. His eyes, bloodshot from sleepless nights, darted to it. He knew it couldn't be good news. Not after what happened yesterday. Not after Taehyung's eyes refused to meet his at the studio. Not after Hybe's office turned into a war zone of whispers, slammed doors, and redirected stares. The screen flashed with a name he used to adore. Taehyung. But the text wasn't what he expected. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an explanation. It was a time and location. Meet me. Rooftop. 8 a.m. Don't bring anyone. Jungkook felt the weight of something bigger than anger or heartbreak settle into his chest. He left without a word. No manager, no stylists, no security. As he reached the rooftop, the early morning wind ripped through his hoodie. But he barely noticed. Taehyung was already there, staring at the skyline like it held all the answers neither of them could find in each other anymore. You came, Taehyung said without turning. You told me to. I didn't think you would. After everything, Jungkook's jaw clenched. You leaked it, didn't you? That one question sliced through the thin air like a blade. Taehyung's shoulders stiffened. You think I'd do that? He finally turned, his face unreadable. You think I'd sabotage you like that? I don't know what to think anymore, Jungkook snapped. 1 minute we're in the studio laughing. The next, Hybe's lawyers are asking me to sign a statement denying something that's not even a lie. You think I wanted this to blow up like this? Taehyung's voice rose. You think I asked for the fans to lose their minds? To turn against you? Against me? Jungkook's voice trembled with fury. Then what the hell did you want? Because all I see is you pulling away, feeding the chaos, leaving me to clean it up like it's all my fault. Taehyung's eyes were glassy now. You think I wanted to pull away? Jungkook, I had to. You know why. You know what Hybe threatened. Jungkook stepped closer, their faces inches apart. Say it, out loud. They said they'd terminate my contract, Taehyung whispered. Not just that. Blacklist me. Destroy my family's business. Ruin everything. If I didn't put distance between us. If I didn't let the media twist it into betrayal. And you let them. I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice. Taehyung shoved him back. Don't you dare act like you know what it's like to have your entire family held hostage by a label. You can afford to be bold. I can't. Jungkook's voice cracked. You think I'm not sacrificing anything? You think every step I take isn't a minefield? You think I don't feel the fucking blade against my throat every time I speak your name? There was silence. Then Taehyung said it. Then why did you tell the truth? Why didn't you just lie like they wanted? Jungkook's eyes burned. Because you matter more than my career, or I thought you did. Taehyung turned away, his voice raw. Don't say that. But it's true. They stood in the tension until a distant sound caught their attention. The building door slammed. Footsteps. A third person had arrived. It was Namjoon. I told you not to bring anyone, Taehyung hissed. I didn't. Namjoon looked like he hadn't slept. He approached with a grim expression. They know you're here, he said. Both of you. Dispatch already has drones circling. Someone tipped them off. It's going to break within the hour. Jungkook's face paled. This wasn't me. Taehyung looked straight at Namjoon. Was it you? Namjoon shook his head. Doesn't matter. What matters is you two need to get out of here. Or speak now. On your terms. Before someone else spins this into something uglier. Taehyung let out a bitter laugh. You mean uglier than what they've already said? That we've been secretly fighting for years? That I stole his music? That Jungkook tried to punch me backstage? That I was the reason for his breakdown? Namjoon looked at both of them. Then give them the truth. Together. Not in press releases. Not in statements. But here. Right now. Let them see you. Jungkook looked at Taehyung. Would you? Taehyung hesitated. Then he nodded. What followed next was chaos. A live stream. A rooftop confession. A joint message that broke every rule Hybe had tried to enforce. They didn't doubt themselves as a couple. They didn't need to. They spoke from the heart. They addressed the rumors, the manipulations, the fractures in their bond, and the reasons behind them. They didn't apologize for the truth. They owned it. But the real storm came hours later. Hybe called an emergency board meeting. Legal threats flew. Contracts were reviewed. Taehyung was called into an interrogation. Jungkook refused to be separated. Fans around the world trended "We stand with Taehyung" for 3 days straight. Protests formed outside the company's headquarters. Shareholders panicked. The CEO himself issued a rare statement. We will take all necessary disciplinary actions. Then, someone leaked the emails. Internal correspondence showing how Hybe executives had orchestrated misinformation to drive a wedge between members, how they had funded articles, manipulated footage, paid off journalists. The narrative flipped. Suddenly, it wasn't Taehyung and Jungkook under fire. It was Hybe. 2 days later, Taehyung posted a photo. Him and Jungkook. No captions, just defiance. The media exploded. Fan cried. Haters raged. But the world was listening, and Hybe was burning. The silence in the room felt like it could snap. Taehyung's back was to the door, his frame rigid, barely breathing. Jungkook stood at the threshold, chest heaving, lips parted, as if words had almost escaped but retreated at the last moment. They hadn't spoken since the confrontation that shattered everything. Outside, the world continued. Spinning managers bustled. Stylists whispered. Fans screamed in the distance, but inside that narrow space, time folded in on itself. Say something, Taehyung finally muttered without turning around. His voice cracked. Not from weakness, but from too many truths choking his throat. Jungkook's fingers clenched. He took one step forward. What do you want me to say, Taehyung? That I regret it? That I didn't mean it? His voice trembled, but there was defiance laced in it, pain sharpening the edges. Taehyung turned slowly. His eyes were bloodshot, but the fire hadn't dimmed. I want you to stop pretending like you're the victim. You knew exactly what that moment meant. And still, you walked away. Jungkook flinched. You pushed me away first. You shut down every time I got close. Because I was scared, Taehyung shouted. Because every time I opened up, you made me feel like I was a burden, like this us was a secret you couldn't wait to forget. The room exploded with the weight of things left unsaid. Jungkook stepped back, his breath hitching. I never wanted to forget, but do you know how it feels to be in love with someone who keeps pretending nothing ever happened? Taehyung's gaze faltered for the first time. Don't say love like that. Not when you've already decided to choose your career over me. I didn't choose anything. Jungkook's voice rose, fierce, raw. Hybe made that choice for me. You think I wanted to keep us in the dark? I fought them, Tae. I begged them to let me be honest. They told me I'd ruin everything, that I'd destroy your future and mine. Taehyung laughed bitterly. And you believed them. What choice did I have? There was a long pause. The only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioner above. You had me, Taehyung whispered, And that broke Jungkook. He walked forward quickly, standing inches away from him. You think I don't wake up every morning with my chest cracked open because I lost you? You think this fame, these fans, this global spotlight means anything if I can't share it with you? Taehyung's eyes shimmered, but he refused to cry. Not now. Not when the cameras might be waiting behind every door. Jungkook continued softer. I know I failed you. I know I let them win. But I want to fight again. For real this time. With you. Not behind closed doors. Not in shadows. Taehyung looked at him. 100 emotions flickered behind his eyes. It's not that simple anymore. We're not those kids sneaking glances backstage. There's too much at stake now. Then let it fall. Let it all burn, Jungkook whispered. Because I'd rather be ruined with you than shine alone. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Jimin stood there, face pale, eyes wide. He had heard everything. You have to be careful, Jimin said, voice low. They're already watching. There are rumors spreading like wildfire. They think something happened between you two after the awards night. Taehyung stiffened. Let them think. But Jimin stepped in, shut the door behind him, and walked closer. No, you don't get it. Someone leaked a photo. A blurred one, but it's enough. The media's on fire. Hybe is panicking. Jungkook's face went pale. What photo? Jimin pulled out his phone and showed it to them. A grainy image of Jungkook's hand brushing Taehyung's waist, taken from a distance, likely during the after-party. Their faces weren't visible, but it didn't take much for people to guess. Taehyung cursed under his breath. So what now? Damage control again? More lies? Jimin looked between them. Unless you're ready to tell the truth. All of it. The silence that followed was thunderous. Taehyung and Jungkook stared at each other. A decade of hidden glances, coded lyrics, late-night confessions, and aching silences hung in the air. Are you ready to risk everything? Taehyung finally asked. Jungkook didn't hesitate. I already lost you once. I'm not doing it again. There was a knock. Their manager's voice called from outside. Tense. We need to talk. Now. Both of you. Hybe's holding an emergency meeting. The three looked at each other. Then Jungkook reached out, laced his fingers with Taehyung's. Let them see. The door opened, and they walked out together. Taehyung's hands trembled as he gripped the edge of the sink. Cold water ran endlessly over his fingers, but it did nothing to calm the wildfire burning inside his chest. The fluorescent lights above flickered, casting distorted reflections of his face on the cracked mirror. His jaw clenched, his breath shallow. Everything he had tried to hold in since the beginning of this unart him